Nu har det blivit dags för Ascelia Pharma och Magnus Corfitzen, VD, som ska köra.
Yeah.
Kör hårt.
Yeah, thank you, Ludvig. I'm looking forward to giving you all a presentation on Ascelia Pharma and our progress and exciting year 2024. So during my presentation, I will be making a number of forward-looking statements. In Ascelia Pharma, we're dedicated to improve the life of people living with cancer. And our business model is to identify, develop and commercialize novel drugs that address unmet medical needs within these rare cancer conditions. We've come a good part of the way. We have 2 drugs in clinical development. Our lead program, which is Orviglance, is nearing the end of the development phase with phase 3 results coming by May this year. The other program we have in clinical development is Oncoral. It's a therapeutic for the treatment of gastric cancer and potentially other solid tumor types. And we're ready to start phase 2. Our company is based in Malmö and we've been listed on Nasdaq main market since 2019. First, I will talk about our lead program, Orviglance. This is what really excites us about Orviglance, and it's synthesizing everything that is the opportunity of this new novel drug. There's a very well-defined patient population who are in need of a product such as Orviglance. We have this patient population translates into an $800 million commercial opportunity on an annual basis. And our reason to be excited about this is that we have completed 8 clinical studies to date with consistent positive efficacy and safety data. We have ramped up manufacturing to commercial scale so we can provide product supply once the product is approved after a regulatory review. What we need to finalize the development phase is the phase 3 program. All patients have now been enrolled in the study. All the data is in the database, and we can see that the adverse events were in line with what we've seen in previous studies. That is very good news. What we are waiting for and what will come by May is the result of the efficacy. So we know that it's efficacious as we have seen in all the other studies. So first I'll spend a couple of minutes talking about the unmet medical need and which patients we're targeting. In cancer care, cancer in the liver is a major problem. Some cancers starts in the liver, primary liver cancer. The vast majority, around 90%, of cancers in the liver are metastases. So cancer starting in one organ and spreading, metastasizing to the liver. Those are common cancer types such as colon cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer and others. The best way to deal with liver metastasis, to find out that there are indeed liver metastases, is to do medical imaging. And this is done routinely and every day in large volumes around the world. The most sensitive method for finding cancer in the liver is an MRI imaging procedure. To optimize the value of that procedure, get the most information out, a person will be injected with a needle with a gadolinium-based contrast agent or diagnostic drug. This will give the highest possible sensitivity, but there's a risk in particular for patients with severe kidney disease. These patients can have potential fatal side effects from the injection of the gadolinium. And therefore, regulatory authorities have put in place black box warnings on all gadolinium products, warning against use in this patient population. Orviglance is based on manganese, so it's gadolinium free. It's an oral drug, which also is more attractive for some patients. So by having Orviglance, we can specifically target this patient population who are at the highest risk of potentially fatal side effects from gadolinium, which are the existing class of products on the market. And this is also where we have orphan drug designation from the FDA. So when we look at I mentioned we had completed 8 clinical studies. It's a comprehensive data package that we have. We have also done blinded reads, so we've done analysis of data across studies in certain systematic ways, which again yield very consistent efficacy outcome. On the right hand side you can see the study Sparkle with 85 patients where results is on the way, and we are well on track to deliver by May. So what are the results? So the way it's set up, which is consistent with guidelines and our dialogue with the FDA and what other companies have been doing, is that 3 trained radiologists, specialist radiologists within liver imaging, have been educated in the protocol, and they will look at all the images from patients in the SPARKLE studies. If 2 out of the 3 score statistical significance on the endpoint, the study is a success. And essentially, what the endpoint is, it's improved lesion visualization. So we've tried to illustrate with an example from a phase 2 study here to the right, where you can see an image which is unenhanced, which is without Orviglance, and to the right you see Orviglance enhanced image, where you see the healthy liver cells have become white because they have manganese from Orviglance within, and the black structure is much more visible. That is an example of improved visualization. That is what we need to prove in phase 3. So this is an anecdotal example, one patient, which may or may not be representative, but we've also done a more systematic approach where we took a phase 2 study that was originally done at Karolinska Hospital with 20 patients. We took 3 radiologists, similar protocol and endpoint as we have in the phase 3 study, and based on those 3 readers' assessment, there was a statistical significant improvement in lesion visualization with a highly significant P level. So what we do, the primary endpoint, the readout by May, is we have 85 patients, slightly broader patient population, but same setup with 3 readers, similar endpoint. And there, in those 85, we should reach statistical significance with at least 2 out of 3, and then the study will be a success. So we are well on the way. We have collected all the data. As some of you who have been following us for a while, we had some challenges in last fall when we were expecting to announce the result, where we said we had, in the evaluation phase, we had some issues with some of the readers who were part of the study back then, had high level of intra-reader variability, or you would say inconsistency between when seeing an image first time and second time. And therefore, we could not conclude anything on the data. We had to do a re-evaluation, as others have done before us when they have had this issue. We communicated in the fall that it was with the timeline that we expect to deliver results by May. It continues to be on track. We have selected the radiologist who will do the evaluation now. We have given them a solid training to maximize the probability that they will adhere to the protocol and follow the scoring scale in the protocol every single time. We have put them in a test before they could start reading the SPARKLE images, and we continue to monitor closely based on what we can see to make sure that there are no sort of strange patterns. So far, we are on track. No strange patterns. Everything is looking good for being able to present data by May. So now I'll talk a bit about what comes after. So after, on the basis of positive data, we can finalize a registration application to the FDA, the health authorities in the US, and launch the product. The unmet medical need and the hundreds of thousands of patients around the world translates into an addressable market opportunity of $800 million on an annual basis. Furthermore, these patients are typically concentrated in the major hospitals because they are sick, they have severe renal disease, and they have cancer, and they're referred to the large hospitals, which means from a commercialization perspective, we should primarily focus, or we will primarily focus on the large hospitals, which means that it's a much more efficient economic model to commercialize such a product. So we're very excited about that, and in particular about the US, which is roughly half the global market. The volume in the US is about 100,000 procedures in about 50,000 patients every year. When we look at pricing benchmarks, it's considerable value for the healthcare system and the patient to receive a high quality imaging procedure that is safe. And overall, these patients are very expensive for the healthcare system, so having a accurate as possible imaging procedure is providing a lot of value. There's a strong demographic growth because both renal disease, kidney disease, and cancer increase as the population ages, and that trend continues. So the unmet medical need that we've talked about earlier, It's a very well-defined issue. As mentioned, the regulatory authorities, including the FDA in the US, have put in place black box warning. When we do our market research as part of our launch preparation, we get a very consistent feedback that more than 90% of the doctors, and this is both radiologists who are administering gadolinium products, it's nephrologists, doctors specializing in treating kidney disease, and oncologists, doctors specializing in cancer treatment, are aware of the issue with gadolinium in patients, especially with kidney disease. 16% of the doctors in this market survey of around 250 doctors had personal experiences in some way with NSF, which is a devastating side effect. So it's a well understood issue that we are addressing. And we also see in this market research that the concern drives medical decision making. You know, the vast majority of patients in our target population are not getting a full dose. In fact, 60 to 75% are getting an imaging procedure without any imaging drug or contrast agent because of the concern. So some of them are getting half dose to minimize the risk for the patient. So obviously coming with what we believe will be a highly efficacious imaging drug and no risk of gadolinium-based side effects is going to be a very, very attractive opportunity for these patients. We're focusing entirely on patients with renal disease, but there are some additional concerns about the gadolinium products that are out there and have been on the market for the last 30 years or so. One is that every time a person is injected with gadolinium, some of that gadolinium, small amounts, will deposit in bone and skin and organs, even the brain. There's not sort of a systematic clinical significance of that, but a lot of research is going on to understand what is the significance of heavy metal deposition. Another issue is the water supply. Most of the gadolinium, almost all the gadolinium that is injected into patients will be excreted through the urine. The urine goes into our sewer system, which is also our drinking water supply, which is recycled and filtrated. The amount of gadolinium in total is very low, but consistent publications show that over the last few decades, the level of gadolinium in drinking water has gone up manifold. So clear, this is not a sustainable solution to continue to use gadolinium in the way that we have in the past. The industry is reacting to some extent to address this. So there's been a focus on developing half-dose gadolinium, so using less gadolinium, which will, you could say, change the curve, but it will not resolve the issue. We saw recently that one of the large companies in this field, GE Healthcare, has done a phase 1 study with an injectable manganese agent that would be complementary to ours. It's not a liver-specific agent, and we think that's a great news towards moving to a gadolinium-free future, where Orviglance is the leading product in the world. We are about to complete a phase 3 pivotal study, and GE's product is you say another clinical stage asset. So very few, and we're the only one that is late stage. So very excited about this. And we are getting headline results by May, which hopefully will allow us to move to the registration phase and towards commercialization and bring it to patients. So I'll briefly talk about Oncoral, which is our other clinical stage asset. So Oncoral is we've taken irinotecan, which is a very potent cancer treating molecule. Today it's given every third week. It gives efficacy. But the challenge is that it's every third week, and we think we can improve on the efficacy and safety of irinotecan by giving it every day. To do that, you need to have it as a tablet therapy. We have a patented tablet formulation that will allow us to give it to patients at home on a daily basis, as opposed to the hospital-based infusions. So we've completed phase 1. We are very excited about a program here in phase 2 that we have the ambition to start once the funding is in place. But we want to combine Oncoral with Lonsurf, which is an approved drug for treatment of gastric cancer. And we want to show that having the all-tablet combination of Lonsurf plus Oncoral is better than Lonsurf alone. We have a clinical collaboration with Taiho Oncology, who have developed and is commercializing Lonsurf. So we are very excited about this opportunity that we will hopefully move into in the not too distant future. I'm just going to round off here on the finance and the outlook. So in the beginning of February, we announced a financing with Formonor of about up to 35 million. It will give us additional strategic and financial flexibility. And if we do a drawdown of the full amount, we will have financing until the second quarter of 2025. So a bit into next year. The structure of the financing has a low dilution, so it's about 4% dilution. It was conversion price was a 25% premium to share price at the time of signing, and it's only 15 million that is convertible, and a 20 million which is a straight loan. So with that, we are well positioned. We have also taken down our cost levels significantly. It's a consequence of completing the patient enrollment phase of the phase 3 study. We have also announced some significant cost cutting initiatives, including saying goodbye to some very talented colleagues. And our focus on the re-evaluation allows us to make sure that we spend our cash as efficiently as possible. So rounding off, 2024 is a very exciting year for us. The key milestone is going to be the phase 3 data readout by May. In addition to that, for Orviglance, we're going to focus on preparing the submission to the regulatory authorities, prepare the launch, commercialization preparations, which may or may not include partnering. So very exciting for Orviglance, and then also moving Oncoral forward because that phase 2 study is tremendously interesting and potentially very value creating. So with that, I'd like to open up for questions.
Thank you for a great presentation, Magnus. So obviously everyone is looking forward to these results in May. How confident are you in a positive result?
I'm very optimistic. So I think we have all the previous studies. We have gone great length and had some very good, I would say, intense support from some of our key opinion leaders, our advisors in the medical community, in terms of how we could, do the training of the 3 independent radiologists as well as possible, and make sure also putting in place this testing system where they needed to look at phase 2 images so we make sure that they understood the 4-point scale as good as they could, to make sure that we have the consistency, because that's what the issue last year, that was that they were not consistent. There was a too high level of randomness when they did the imaging scoring, both on Orviglance enhanced images but also on the unenhanced images. So it is like a systematic issue that we have resolved now. Yeah,
and touching a little bit upon this, but you've been in contact with the companies experiencing the same issue with this inter-reader variability. What did you learn from this? Is it the things you said, or is it something additionally?
Yeah, and it's as you mentioned, this is not a unique Ascelia issue. This is something that is well reported in the scientific literature. We worked with some companies that we thought would be great at solving this in the first go, but we didn't end in the right place. But this is something that other companies have experienced as well. And then the approach is to say, okay, we have this issue, the data is unreliable, we need to do a new evaluation. And there, the training of the readers, investing a lot more in that activity and the testing and the monitoring are sort of the key takeaways that we've heard from other companies that have been in similar situations and have done a re-evaluation to sort of remedy it, and these products have gone through and gotten regulatory approval.
Right. And you recently opened up for actually partnering in the US.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about this decision and maybe the pros and the cons of doing it yourself versus with a partner?
Yeah. So we think as we could say, the US market is about half the global market opportunity, which makes it sort of, you would say, the crown jewel. It's the most attractive opportunity. It's also, because these patients are very sick and have several diseases, they're referred to the large hospitals, which means it's a concentrated effort. It can be done with a relatively modest sales force. That's why it's a strategic option to build our own, you could say, commercial team in the US. What we've said also in the fall, given the delay and the cost of capital, if there's an attractive partner in the US who already have the infrastructure, maybe the economics of that is going to be tremendously interesting for us as well. So we're keeping the options in the US open. We'll see what will generate the most value to shareholders and the company. And in other geographies, as we've said all along, we want to find a partner.
Right. And how good do you expect Orviglance to be compared to the gadolinium-based agents? Are these comparable? I know that you've actually done a study on this, and what did you find?
Yeah, so we had one study, as you mentioned, the 20 patients I showed a slide earlier, where we demonstrated that Orviglance is superior to unenhanced. That study, patients had normal kidney function, so they also had an imaging procedure with gadolinium. And this has been presented at major medical conferences, but we were, in this small patient population study, we were, let's say, at least as good as gadolinium. What we had was higher scores with Orviglance compared to the gadolinium agent, but still the study is too small to conclude. So I think it's fair to say that we are at least as good, which is very important, because the value proposition with Orviglance is going to be, here we have an efficacious and safe drug for this targeted patient population, and you're not compromising on efficacy. I think that is really important.
Right. And who are the most important players in the contrast agent market? What would be sort of good companies for you to partner up with?
I think in the MRI contrast media space, there are 4 companies that are sort of dominating the gadolinium space. So it's GE Healthcare, it's Bayer, it's Gabé, a French company, and Bracco, an Italian company. So they are sort of have historically been the major players in that field. And so when we look across, the opportunity for partnerships, we look at what are the capabilities that company should have in terms of access to the right doctors. It's also the commercial infrastructure. It's the ability to work with health insurers in the US, with payers. So there are lots of different capabilities. So it could be one of the gadolinium manufacturers. It could be specialty pharma companies with strong hospital sales forces and strong market access skills. So we have like a broad range of potentially very exciting companies that we could work together with if we were to go that route.
Yeah, and maybe ending now with Oncoral. You told us a little bit about the status, but could you tell us about when you would like to initiate a phase 2 study here, and how sort of what design this would have, how long follow-up would it be, for example? Can you just reason a little bit about this?
Yeah, so we'd love to get going on the Oncoral study. We did some initiation earlier, but put it on pause because we wanted to preserve the cash for finalizing the phase 3 study. So we have gotten the regulatory approval. The IND has been approved in the US, so we have national approvals in some countries in Europe. So you could say we have the regulatory go-aheads. Having said that, it's been paused for a while, so we need to make sure that everything is fresh and ready to move into a clinical study. And that we will do once, you could say, the financing is in place to do that. Mm. So we're looking at a high-quality phase 2 study with about 100 patients, where we will, on one hand, we will have Lonsurf and Oncoral versus Lonsurf alone, and there we want to use see if we can reproduce the animal data that says that the combination of the two is better than Lonsurf alone. That we want to show in humans, and we think we have a very robust design, working with some of the key oncologists in the gastric cancer field. So it's a super exciting program, and look forward to getting that study started, hopefully sooner rather than later. But financing needs to be in place. Yeah.
And what commitment does Taiho have in this, and what are they thinking about this delay in the trial start?
So we continue to have a good dialogue with Taiho. They understand how we have prioritized, and they continue to be committed and part of the program. So Ascelia has full ownership of the asset. They are supplying Lonsurf free of charge. They are providing advice and insights into how we can optimize the study and you could say do it in the best possible way. Also having some discussions about which hospitals are you would say frequent users of LungServe, so they have a lot of experience of using LungServe in the hospital, which will also make the study likely to be more successful. So that's a very good dialogue we have, but they continue to be committed, but they are also impatient like we are in terms of we want to see the study going and get the data.
Yeah, of course. Great, thank you very much, Magnus.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure to be here.